Hello everyone, I am Vanch and welcome back to Redfox Security channel where cybersecurity meets real world action. We don't just teach theory, we train you like a pro with 70% hands-on practical and real world scenarios. Our team has tested hundreds of systems uncovering vulnerabilities that matter. We offer penetration testing service, cutting edge courses and expert training at academy.redfoxsec.com. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn to stay ahead in cybersecurity. Now, let's dive into today's topic. We are going to talk about something crucial in modern DevOps and cloud security, identifying vulnerabilities in Docker container. So, let me switch to my PPT. Nowadays, many companies are leveraging containerization technology to deploy application efficiently. Containers make deployment faster, scalable and portable, but they also introduce security risk. Okay, if containers include outdated or vulnerable software, it can become an easy target for attackers. That's where Docker Scout comes in. It helps us to analyze image for vulnerabilities and ensure that we are using secure up-to-date dependencies. So, okay, let me start with the basics. First, let's talk about what is Docker. Docker is an open source containerization platform that allows developers to package applications and their dependencies into standardized lightweight container. These containers can run consistently across different computing environments, ensuring that application works on the same way in development, testing, and production. Let's talk about why companies are adopting Docker. First reason is portability. Docker containers can run anywhere, making deployment seamless across different environments. Second is scalability. Easily scale application by spinning up or down containers based on demand. You can run Docker images with Kubernetes as well. Okay, so you can set up master and slave node. Resource efficiency, use fewer resources compared to traditional virtual machines. Okay, faster deployment, speed ups the deployment cycles with lightweight and easily reproducible environment. And CI/CD integration, so you can integrate your Docker containers with CI/CD pipeline as well to perform the automations. Now, you must be wondering that what is the difference between Docker containers and virtual machines? Okay, so let's talk about first architecture. So Docker image uses OS level virtualizations where virtual machine uses hardware level virtualizations. Okay. Now let's talk about OS dependency. So Docker image runs on host OS kernel and each virtual machine has its own operating system. Now if we'll talk about use cases, Docker images is ideal for microservices, CI/CD pipeline and for scalable applications, whereas virtual machine is suitable for running different operating systems on a single machines. So let me explain you with example. Imagine you own a restaurant and need to serve food to different customers. There are two ways to run your kitchen. Now let's try to understand this scenario with virtual machine. Okay, so in this setup, every chef gets their own separate kitchen, complete with their own stove, fridge, and cooking space. While this ensures that each chef works independently, it also takes lot of space and resources. Okay, now let's understand this with containers. Instead of giving each chef separate kitchen, you create one big kitchen where each chef gets their own workstation with tools they need. They share the same gas, fridge, water supply but work on their own dishes independently. So this is just a basic example of the difference between Docker container and virtual machine. Now, as per the Cyber News research, more than 5,000 Docker image contain secrets. Okay, these leaky containers have been downloaded more than 132 billion times, exposing secrets on servers globally. This exposed secret range from harmless API keys to sensitive information that could result in unauthorized access, data breaches, or even identity theft. So I have attached the blog link as well. So if you want to read more on it, you can read that. So let's try to understand just one small vulnerabilities, just one small leakage in Docker container can impact much at bigger level. Now let's check expose images and detection type. So we have here top 20 exposed secrets by detection type, and here we have top 20 images by exposed secret counts. Okay, so here if you'll notice we have secret count. Now this secret count includes API keys, credentials and sensitive information. So here if you'll notice we have pool count. So pool count is basically the total time the Docker image is being downloaded. Okay, and here if we'll check we have top 20 exposed secrets. So first one we have GitHub API tokens, then Datadog tokens. So Datadog is used for monitoring purpose, so we have Datadog API tokens. Okay, then we have FTP credentials. So here if you see, and one basic API key leakage or sensitive credential leakage will impact much at the larger level, whereas this containers is being used by multiple peoples. Okay, so now let's perform the practical part. Okay, now in this video we are going to use Docker Scout. Now what is Docker Scout? So Docker Scout is a security analysis tool that helps developer to detect vulnerabilities in containers. It integrates with Docker Hub and local environment to scan for outdated or vulnerable software components. So let me first open my CMD. Okay, first I'll write docker -- version, and here if you'll notice we get the error message. Docker is not recognized as an internal or external command, operable program or batch file. This means Docker is not installed in our machine. So let's first install Docker in our machine. So I'll go to the I'll open the Firefox. Okay, I'll write here Docker Hub. Okay, go to the first link. Not Docker download. Just write Docker download, not Docker Hub. Okay, so here if you'll notice we have Docker desktop. Okay, I'll accept the cookies. Download Docker desktop. Now notice we have download for Windows, download for Mac. In my case I'm using Windows, so I'll go with the Windows option. But if you are using Mac or if you are using Linux, you can select the particular options. In fact, you can check the Docker documentations to learn, and if you want to know more about Docker, if you want to know how to get started, or if you need any help for the installation, you can go to the docs.docker.com. Okay, so my bad, let me re-download this again. Now let's wait. Okay, Docker desktop installer file is installed in my machine. Now I'll double click on this. Okay, let me open this. Okay, I'll click on yes. Okay, now if you notice it started installation on my machine. Okay, now it's unpacking all the files and installation is on process. Okay, so as you can see here, installation succeed. You must restart Windows to complete the installation. So restart is very important part. So let me restart my machine. Okay, so as you can see here, it is giving me terms and conditions, so I'll accept. And now it's giving me use recommended settings, so I don't want to set up now for advanced, so I'll go with the first option, and you should also go with the first option. Now right now I'm not logging into the Docker, so let me skip this. Okay, skip. Okay, so now it's showing me Docker engine stops. Okay, so to access Docker we need to perform the sign in operation. So let me quickly perform the sign in operation. Okay, so now as you can see here, it already started my Docker engine. So let me close this GUI part. Okay, and let me open my command prompt again. I'll zoom this bit. Okay, now let me write docker dash dash version. Okay, and as you can see here, it's giving me the version name. This means Docker is successfully installed in our machine without any error. Okay, so now let me uh, show you some commands. So Docker images. So as you can see here, right now we don't have any images in our machine. Okay, if you want to know more about Docker command, you can use docker dash dash help argument. So as you can see here, it will give you all the commands which you can use. Right now we don't want to use Docker, so we were just interested in finding vulnerabilities. So let me clear this terminal output. Okay, let me open my PowerPoint again. Let's take one of the images from here. Okay, uh, let's take the 15th one, which is HashiCorp Vault website. So now to download any images, again go to the Firefox. Okay, write Docker Hub. Okay, so Docker Hub is like a GitHub. In GitHub, developer and organization pushes their code. Similarly, on Docker Hub, developers, individuals, and organization pushes their Docker images to the Docker Hub. So we are interested in downloading HashiCorp Vault website. So let me go to browser again, and I'll write HashiCorp Vault website. Okay, first one. Okay, now it's giving us the pull command. Okay, so this is the latest one. I'm not going to install the latest one, and the reason why I'm doing this I'll tell you. So let me go to the text. Okay, okay, so let me install very old. Okay, almost 4 years. So let me install this. So I'll copy this, I'll open my terminal, and I'll paste it here, and I'll hit enter. So now this particular version, which is basically 4 years old, is being installed in my machine. So let's wait for some time. Okay, as you can see, this particular Docker image is successfully installed in our machine. And if you want to check whether it's successfully installed or not, just write Docker images, and it will give you the output. So I'm here. If you see the repository name, tag name, image ID, created 3 years ago, and the size. Okay, so now I want to identify vulnerabilities in this Docker image. So we have an inbuilt command. When you install Docker, Docker Scout is also installed by default. So write Docker Scout. So if you just write Docker Scout, it will open the help section, or you can say documentation, where it will show you how can you use Docker Scout command. Okay, so I am going to use CVES argument, and it says display CV is identified in software artifacts. So let me clear my terminal output. I'll write Docker images, and let me write the command Docker Scout CVES, the name of the repository, and the tag which is associated with the repository, and I'll enter. So now it's analyzing vulnerabilities in our image. So let's wait for some time. It will take some time to detect vulnerabilities. Okay, so we got the output. Now let's try to analyze this output. Okay, so if you'll notice the third line, it says detected 98 vulnerable packages with a total of 205 vulnerabilities, and then the overview of the output, which is basically uh, the repository name, text associated with it, platform, and the system architecture, which is basically AMD 64. This is the image architecture. Then the vulnerability classification. So we have 18 critical vulnerabilities, 128 high vulnerabilities, 76 medium vulnerabilities, and 20 low vulnerabilities. So this is basically classification based on criticality. uh, the total packages is used by this image is 1815, and the size of the image. Okay, and here if you'll notice, so the Golang package, which is using library 1.16.3, contains 4 critical vulnerability, 46 high vulnerability, 25 medium vulnerability, and 1 low vulnerability. You can see the CVE ID as well, artifact range, and fixed version. So it will give you the fixed version information as well. So all this is vulnerabilities. Okay, let me go down, and then this npm loader package, which is basically using 1.4.0 version, contains 1 critical vulnerability and 2 high vulnerabilities, and the CV is associated with it. And if you notice, this is prototype pollution vulnerabilities. Then we have inefficient regular exploitation vulnerabilities, and we have CVSS and CVS vector score associated with as well. So let's say if you want to know more about the particular vulnerability, okay, so just copy this link, open on the browser, and you can check the summary. So CVSS score is 9.8, and it says prototype pollution vulnerability in function parse query in parsequery.js in webpack loader utilities prior to version 2.0 via the name variable parsequery.js. So you can update to the latest version or the particular version which don't have any vulnerability. Okay, so now I'm not going to show all of the vulnerability. Now basically you know how you can identify vulnerabilities. Okay, so in the last, it says 243 vulnerabilities found in 98 packages. So here if you notice, it says 243 vulnerabilities found in 98 packages. So Docker helps you to pinpoint particular packages for the vulnerabilities, so you know where to find particular vulnerability and fix it. So it will help you to pinpoint to the packages, and it gives us the recommendation as well that you should update to this image. So this image is recommended by the Docker Hub. So now Docker doesn't only help to find the vulnerabilities, it will also give us the recommendations. So to check for the recommendations, we have a command docker scout. So first I'll write docker images, then docker scout recommendations, repository name, and followed by tag. Okay, we got the output very quickly. So now let's try to analyze the output. Okay, again we have okay, so we got the recommended fixes. It says, let me okay, So here we got the output. Okay, so now it's suggesting that you should use this image. Okay, and also known as, it also giving us the version name, so particularly which version you should use. And now here if you'll see, it's giving us the data. So if we'll use this image, it will reduce 3 critical vulnerabilities, 29 high vulnerabilities, 22 medium vulnerabilities, and 7 low vulnerabilities. So it's giving us the suggestion as well. So okay, let me show you one thing. Okay, so now here if you'll see, it says the list displays new recommended tags in descending order, where the top results rated as most suitable. So if we'll use iron alpine image version, so it will reduce 3 critical vulnerabilities, 20 high vulnerabilities, but also it will introduce you one high vulnerability as well. So you have to take this stats very carefully, and then you have to upgrade to the particular version. So this is a trial and error method. You have to check, you have to you have to fix against the vulnerability manually. So here okay, so as you can see here, we have a slim package, and it will reduce 22 medium vulnerabilities, but also introduce 16 low vulnerabilities. So whenever you perform any changes, you have to approach very carefully. Okay, so now let me download the latest image tag, and I'll explain you why I downloaded the older one first and the latest one second. So let me copy this and I will enter. Now the latest image of HashiCorp Vault website is being downloaded in our machine. Okay, so now as you can see, the Docker image is being downloaded. Now the reason why I downloaded the older one first and latest one second is because I want to show you the comparison. Now whenever you find any vulnerabilities or misconfiguration in Docker containers, you fix them and you rerun again to identify vulnerabilities. But you can actually compare the older Docker container to the latest Docker container which you build. For that we have an argument compare. So let me list down images first. So to list down Docker images, I'll write Docker images. Now to compare, I use Docker Scout compare. First the latest one will come. So and followed by the older one. Okay, let me hit enter. Okay, I think our command is not run. Let me check why. Okay, so it says compare the most recently built image to a reference. Okay, so we have to here to compare, we have to use another argument which is --2. So let me write --2. Okay, after the compare. Now I think it should work. Okay, so it is working now. So it's giving us the warning as well that Docker Scout compare is experimental and its behavior might change in the future. So this is the warning here we are getting. So now it is basically comparing the images. Now let's wait for some time. Okay, so here we got the output, and if you'll notice here we have the vulnerability classification comparison. Okay, compared to the latest one, in the older version we have more we can say 1 critical vulnerability, 29 high vulnerability, 23 medium vulnerability, and 7 low vulnerabilities. Okay. And here you can see the image size, so we have a difference in image size as well. Okay. So, and here if you notice, we have base image vulnerabilities as well. So in the latest one, we have 6 critical vulnerabilities, but in the older one we have only 3 critical vulnerabilities. Okay. And you can see here the environmental variable as well. Okay. uh, and the basic difference, so here if you notice, 240 214 package is added and 322 package is removed, 12 is upgraded and 360 is downgraded. So this is the detailed comparison which will help you to analyze your Docker containers more efficiently. Okay. And all this information, the package which is being added, the package which is being removed, the package which is being downgraded, the vulnerability which is detected. Okay, so here you can see this vulnerability is fixed. Here you can see this vulnerability is fixed. The vulnerability which is being introduced, so here if you notice CVE 2021 36159, this CVE is being introduced to the Docker image. So all this is detailed comparison. So the reason why I'm showing this detailed comparison is because when you fix any vulnerabilities, so you can compare your older Docker image to the latest one, and this will play and this Docker compare give you more detailed output. When I run this command first time with my image which I basically created, I was blown away. So the output detail and analysis is in very detail. You can analyze it, and I'll suggest you should play around with this commands. Okay. You can explore Docker Scout command as well. So uh, let me write Docker Scout again, and here you can basically check how can you use different type of Docker Scout commands with different arguments. So that's it for today. We explored Docker Scout and learn how to scan Docker images for vulnerabilities, analyze scan results, and apply security fixes. Remember, security is ongoing process. Regularly scanning your images and updating dependencies is crucial for keeping your containers secure. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notification for more cybersecurity content. Got questions? Drop them in comments. I would love to help.